and my sisters, only they can understand. We'll fight this war together, together we will stand.
Hey everybody, it's Joe, and thanks for tuning in to TVO Campfire. What this show's about is about successful veterans, and they're bringing you the stories and their experiences. And we hope that it can provide inspiration to each of you out there, or maybe a veteran that you know to help in their life. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the TVO Campfire. Today we got a Texas phenom on our hands. And I say that loose terms and pretty lightly with one of our TVO members, Logan Synatzske. Great guy down in he's living down in the big state of Stephenville on the big planet, Texas, and amazing guy, loves the outdoors, and this guy right here. As soon as I seen him in the members group and seen him posting on social media about his adventures and what he does. And this guy has probably gone all over the state on his own 2 feet and part of North America. He's always hiking good places. Anytime that we're going to go hike in Texas, I'm calling this guy as my subject matter expert, as well as anything that's gear related for the outdoors, man. I'm calling this guy because I know he's already put it through the ringer. I know he's at least got his opinion, and it's something I respect majorly. He played a little football down in Stephenville, might have got him 2 state championships under his belt, just maybe, just maybe. He decided the Navy wasn't going to be quite something he could live up to, so he decided to go to the Army, and got to play around in the dirt, got to work with some dogs. I'll let him tell the rest of his story, but he's got a good success story, which is why he's on the show today. So, Logan, welcome, sir. I'm glad to have you.
Good to be here, Joe. It was lucky to be on 2 state championship football teams here in the cowboy capital of the world, Stephenville, Texas. And, went to college here too. Decided that when I was done with grad school that I wanted to take a look at what the Army had to offer. So that's what I went and did.
That's pretty exciting. But let's go back a little bit further so we can kind of see what led up to your decision to join. Did you grow up in Stephenville?
Moved here when I was 2, so yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And so you've been there the whole time. And when you were growing up, did you have any family members that were in the military or kind of influenced?
Both my grandfathers were in the military. Mom wasn't, Dad wasn't, but both my grandfathers.
Were they close by you where you could sort of talk to them and get
somewhat. My dad's dad was in Lubbock, Texas, or Anton, really, which is a speck north of Lubbock. And then my mom's dad was relatively close in Fort Worth for the most part.
And were they also Army veterans?
No, they were actually both Air Force.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you learn the difference between Air Force and Army?
Oh, probably at a very young age. I was always interested in the military, so I knew the different branches at a pretty young age. I couldn't tell you exactly when.
It's amazing how young we are, and we can still differentiate the different, branches of service. And so I do think that many people at a young age can get an idea of them wanting to enlist or kind of move forward. Were you involved in any type of programs in high school or anything that was military related?
No, not necessarily. Boy Scouts is probably the closest thing that I was a part of to any kind of military organization, I guess. I didn't do ROTC or junior ROTC.
Well, I'll tell you what, with being on a program like what Stephenville has developed into over the years, I wouldn't see how you had time to do anything outside of that but football. And from what I know of Logan, he actually did very well in the Scouts all the way up into his adulthood life. Expand on that, Logan. Tell them what they don't know about you already.
Yeah, so I was a member of Scouts through my whole life. I was active until I was 18. Actually, kind of dropped the ball on my Eagle Scout project and didn't get it submitted in time and turned 18 before it got approved. But I was also in the middle of winning a state championship. So there's different priorities at that stage in my life. Outdoors is just different than it is in a lot of different other places. So I really enjoyed that.
Gotcha. Well, what's some of the stuff that has really stuck with you from your childhood that's really helped develop you are into the person you're today outside of Scouts and outside of football?
I was lucky I had both my parents raised me and my sister great, strong work ethic. We didn't get allowances, we didn't get bought stuff. It was always, okay, well, here are your chores, here's what you can do, and then you got paid basically to work. So I always grew up with a strong work ethic.
Hey, Logan, so you got the teamwork and the camaraderie and the adaptability down in football. You got the outdoors going with the Boy Scouts and the leadership and the development kind of into young adulthood through that. Is there anything else that you felt in your childhood, family related, maybe, anything like that that really, sticks with you today and made you who you are?
Absolutely. My parents both instilled very strong work ethic in me and my sister as well. And we were, raised to, never take for granted anything. We really just kind of make your own way, be in charge of your own success. Don't rely on somebody else or anything like that.
Awesome. That's good stuff, man. And it's glad to hear that. And we're finding out as the more and more we do this show and go back and kind of compare notes across all of them, these common denominators amongst people are really starting to add up for us, and it's starting to solidify, showing, hey, the people who have had really strong uh, success in their life, a lot of it stems back to the parents growing up and how the parents were involved and how the parents actually developed the child. Did they influence at all your decision on when you decided that, hey, I want to actually serve into the Army?
Yeah, I think Mom tried to influence me against it. Dad was very supportive of it, and then, once I finally convinced my mom of what I was wanting to do, then she got on board, but she was, I think, more just worried for her baby boy.
So you knew what you wanted to do. Did you know what kind of MOS you wanted, and how did that work when you took the ASVAB?
I 100% went in knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I had finished college. I was done with undergrad and grad school, and I was at a point in my life where it was either, okay, jump into the corporate world, or let's take a look at this one thing that's always been a scratch I never, or an itch I never scratched, I guess. And I decided that I was going in the Army. I was 18 X-ray, which is Special Forces recruit. That's all I wanted to do. I went into the recruiter. I said, here's my packet. This is it. Don't offer me anything else. Don't let me look at anything else. This is where I want to go and what I want to try to do.
No, it's saying it's good to hear, like, somebody that came in and was basically like, hey, this is what I'm doing, or I'm not doing nothing at all. I mean, did you have that mentality, at least with the recruiters at the time, or was it that you just said, "Hey, I want to do this," and they just kind of bowed down, you know, if you will?
Um, I think, it was either that, or, and if that wasn't going to be an option, then OCS, and then, try to get into special forces that route. But I was already 28, so I was looking really for a faster way to get in. And so that's why I went in non-commissioned rather than enlisted rather than commissioned. It was a quicker route to get to selection. Whereas if you go OCS and then get on as a PL somewhere, a platoon leader, you're looking at 2 or 3 years before you can even drop a packet for selection. So, and honestly, when I came in, I was in great shape. My master's was in kinesiology, with an emphasis in strength and conditioning. So they really didn't hesitate to just give me what I wanted. It was like, okay, I think it helps them if they can get an OCS guy, but they knew what I was there for. So.
How long was your schooling once you went through boot camp and then you went on to school? How long was the training?
I just did, if you're 18 X-ray, even if you're a special forces recruit, you're trained infantry. So just basic training and OSIT at Fort Benning. Honestly, I don't even remember how long it was. Got there in June, and I believe I was done in October. May have been sooner than that.
What was your total length of service?
I did a 5-year contract, which was the minimum to be for 18 X-ray MOS. I guess the theory behind that is if you do make it through selection, then they don't want to lose you too quickly. You gotta, because it's usually a 2-year process just to get on a team. So they want to try to get at least 3 years out of you once you're on a team.
A lot of people think on the Navy side of the house, once you go through BUDS that and complete it, that all of a sudden, boom, you're a SEAL and hey, you're good to go and blah, 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 which that is not the case by any means. It's still quite a extensive process before you even get your trident at all. On y'all's side of the house, is it similar to the same way where once you complete that, you still have quite a few more evolutions to go through
Absolutely.
before you actually gain your status?
Yeah, I didn't get the opportunity to go to any of that because I was non-select at selection. But if you are selected, you're looking at like language school and then your own MOS training inside the special forces. So I think it's another 2 years of training prior to getting to a team.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And so once you completed that, what was your actual MOS then?
So if you're non-select at selection, your really needs of the Army at that point, and only thing I was trained in was infantry, so I was sent to a light infantry unit.
That's interesting. So in the 5 years that you were in, how many times did you end up getting deployed or being sent overseas?
Twice. I got to my unit and they were already deployed in Iraq, actually. So I got to the unit, trained up a little bit, and then met the unit in Fallujah, Iraq, while they were already there. And then I did Afghanistan later on.
what was your role at that time in Fallujah? To me, Fallujah is still a bad word. It's a bad experience.
Well, luckily when I was sent to Fallujah, it was well past when it was really bad. Wasn't a lot going on there. We were there mostly trained Iraqi army. I was actually slotted for the scout team, which is a member of the HHC, which is headquarters company. We sat down with Sergeant Major and Battalion Commander once we got in Fallujah. They found out I had a master's degree, and I was immediately recruited to the Battalion Tactical Operations Center and became RTO, which is radio telephone operator, but really a little more to that now. You're tracking battle maps and teams and platoons while they're out on mission and stay in contact with them. So that was all I did in Iraq.
All you did? Oh my gosh, I'm sure that you did a lot more, and you are really being modest about your experience there. But I do have a question, and either of you can answer this, or neither of you can answer this. I'm not even sure if this is a really fair question to ask, but I'm going to throw this out there. What are your thoughts on whether we should have trained Iraqis?
I think honestly, it's probably a pretty practical approach to it. You're trying to set up a space to leave. You don't want a permanent presence there, but you don't want any of the work you've done in that country to go to waste. So the best option is really train up local army and local police to at least somewhat do what you were doing there. So when you leave, there's not that drastic withdrawal of support from the country.
I just wasn't sure if maybe your thoughts would be that it should come from our military or like a paramilitary organization. That, there's certain civilian organizations that do go in and do some things overseas. And I didn't know if maybe the thought was that should be left to another organization versus our military.
I'll give you my straight up just reality on it, right? When you raise that right hand, you speak that oath, you swear to that oath, and you take that oath. That is to defend and support your freedom in your country, and and your fellow, citizens of that country as well. To me, that's where it stops. It stops on that oath. At that point, when you're utilizing active duty service members to train other countries to defend themselves and be able to do their own selves, to me, that's outside the oath. So I really think that it should not be our active duty troops that is doing that training. Plus, you really look at the demographic of people over there fighting. Really, does somebody who has maybe 2 or 3 years, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years experience in armed conflict, the right people that you want training an entire nation to defend themselves? I don't. And I don't want to put that on any of our young kids that's over there either. We train them to go to war, and then hopefully they come back safely. To me, that's where that stops. When it goes to training a nation of people to defend themselves, no. Let's bring in the retired guys. Let's bring in the ones like, the Blackwater, those sort of organizations like that. Yes, that should be done by outside entities who have decades of experience of this, because they also know what to train and what not to train. Those folks will get over there and teach them the basics of police. I say police work, but I know it's not. They will get over there and teach them the basics of armed conflict, just enough to defend themselves without giving away a lot of our secrets of battle, if you will. And that's my concern also with the young kids. The young kids don't have that experience enough to actually teach them the very, very, very basics. Because at that point, a lot of that stuff for those kids are actually over there performing. Their daily life their routine becomes their basic, right? And it also blurs that line between, hey, this is a basic tactic and this is an advanced tactic. So
I think what you're saying is spot on. And that was my concern. And you addressed it, because I was going to say about, our military intel can be jeopardized because who's vetting those that are signed up in the other country? And is there can be things people intertwined that are nefarious that go in there, and there's no way to really know that, and how much are we jeopardizing of our intel. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, especially because the topic of Fallujah came up and the bad taste that it's got. But I know, Logan, this has been an exciting journey for you, because starting a little bit later in life has allowed you to look at things from a completely different perspective, and then also know that you're going to utilize specific things about your training as you end up transitioning out of the military and going into the civilian workforce. So with that, after your 2 tours that you did and you had your 5-year contract getting ready to come up, were you involved with the transition assistance program, or how did you begin your transition back into the civilian world?
Yeah, transition back into the civilian world wasn't too difficult. Just, I think probably because I was older. I was 31 when I got out. So, no, that isn't right. 33 when I got out. So I didn't really have the struggles, and I had a lot of connections already established here in Stephenville, because I was here so long before I joined the Army that it was pretty easy for me to move back and get my foot back in the door here, and at least in the job world. I had connections at Tarleton, and that's where I started out at when I moved back. Was I was adjunct teaching in the kinesiology department here at the university, and so it was not a difficult transition for me. I know a lot of younger guys struggle with that because they don't have any kind of a foundation to come back to for the most part. There's no previous work experience. There's no previous network that they have been a part of and can rely on.
So that brings me to one of the questions I have, because you had already went in with a degree in kinesiology, utilized those skills. You came back, you're an adjunct teacher at a university now, and you have the GI Bill available to you. Were you able to, or do you have plans on utilizing that to further your education, or maybe a different field?
Actually, when I first moved back, that was the plan, was to pursue my doctorate in physical therapy, which honestly was the whole reason I even got into kinesiology in grad school. I had to take some undergraduate upper level courses to submit an application for physical therapy school, and I struggled in those courses. I had been in a system for 5 years that was extremely disciplined, and you were taught to, be respectful of your supervisors or your leaders, your team managers, your team leaders, and then going back into a classroom with 19, 20-year-old college kids who haven't really had any kind of life experience, and seeing the way that they treated professors. And I mean, I was in a Chem 2 class, and it was 100 kids in there, and I think 90% of them were playing Fortnite or something on their laptops instead of listening to the professor. And it was more distracting than it was anything else, and it wasn't a successful environment for me. So I took a time out, and that's pretty much, I was in that time out when I got the job I have now.
Well, you've brought up something that I think is really important to talk about. And Joe, you may find this as well, but those in the current climate that we live in as far as college, and I saw this because I worked at a college myself, there has been a big discrepancy on how veterans learn versus the civilians that are learning at a college level. And many colleges are now placing veterans group or areas on campus for veterans to get together and work together, because the learning environment is completely different than what we've been through. And what you said has been spoken many times that I've heard through veterans. I don't know. What do you think, Joe, about that?
My personal experience, what I've seen and I'm witnessing right now, is your veteran population that's going back through school, back through college, seem to be more extroverted. And then when you put them with these kids who have been, um, I want to say, in a non-social bubble, meaning they just stayed indoors, they stayed inside playing video games or whatever, throughout their childhood. They seem to be extroverts in the video game, but in real life they're introverts, if that makes sense. And now that you're putting them in a classroom and around vets who are, majority are extroverted, man, you talk about some people shutting down, walls being built up, seclusion, it's like, yeah, I can see why your vets study, ping pong off of each other, feed off of each other, get together in groups and really make it a success, is because that's what they've just been trained to do for X amount of years of their career, versus the college kid who did not have any type of upbringing like that and is so used to working solo. So that's been my experience with it.
So that seems to be pretty standard, what I've seen, what Logan, you've seen, Joe, you. And so for those who are watching or listening to this show and are thinking about going to college, or look for the veterans resource on that campus so that you can get plugged in with the best way to make your educational journey a success. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to shift a little bit, Logan, and ask you, with the transition, were you able to get plugged in with the VA right away, or because of maybe Stephenville being a little bit smaller, has that been a little bit of a challenge?
Yeah, that was a big challenge. Actually, I had hurt my back really bad when I was in Afghanistan, so I was looking into VA disability when I got out, and finally got it. But it took me going to a private doctor, which luckily I had one that I've used here growing up, and basically getting everything started there, and then taking an already completed medical packet from him to them, and then showing my military medical history. But there was nobody there like to help me through that process when I first got out. It was basically do your own legwork. If you want that, you're going to have to go track those people down. There was no support system for that help from the VA that I was looking for.
I don't want to say it hurts me, but it definitely frustrates me, because look how much time and effort and money is spent into taking, in Logan's case, our soldiers, and sending them over to go fight wars in other countries. And then when it's time for him to go home, how much is spent on getting him back home? And to me, it sounds like in his case, it was a big fat zero.
You've said a phrase that's really important there, and that's getting back home. And that isn't just physically, it's also mentally. And sometimes getting back home for some of the veterans that I know we come across takes a long time.
Especially in that area. Like, they know where he's going back to. You fill it out on all your DD 214. Hey man, here's where to mail, here's where to mail stuff to, right? They know where you're going. Was there any effort made at all to help link you with anything veteran related prior to getting out back into your, well, obviously your hometown, but wherever you decided to go to? Do you truly, or did you truly get any help at all? With something simple as an email or a phone call of saying, hey, here's someone in your area to help when you get there.
There was nobody, like nobody that made any connection for me to anybody back here. Again, that, like, I think they just expect you to do the work on your own. Now they give you a whole packet of organizations and people you can contact to help you. But the Army itself, or probably the military in general, I can't really speak for other services, there was nobody there to say, hey, this is the person you need to talk to in that town that will help you reintegrate to home life. It was just, here's your packet, best of luck. And that was it.
So, me hearing that, as a president of a statewide organization, to me, this gives me opportunity. How many times you heard you've been in a fight, or you hear of somebody in a fight and one of them says, step up, this ain't nothing but space and opportunity right here, let's make it happen, whatever, right? And that's how I kind of see this here is space and opportunity for our organization to turn around and say, you know what, if we ever have a member that reaches out to us and say, hey, I'm transitioning out, I'm going to be down in Stephenville, Dublin, Comanche, whatever. Now we have a person, now we have one of our members down. Absolutely. Yep. I know a guy to call right now who can at least be a point of contact at a minimum. So that really gives a good challenge to us as an organization, going, okay, how do we reach out to those back to, the branches of service, saying, for any vet that's coming back to Texas, to utilize us as a simple phone call. So, Logan, you gave us some work to do. Just thinking about this, just hearing this and thinking about this, man, it's interesting.
Yes, and how many veterans go back to a smaller town and they don't have close resources or other veterans to, have the camaraderie with? And I think that this is where TVO comes in so well, is by placing community leaders in different areas throughout the state, so that all of us can begin to unite together and really continue that, because I do think it is really difficult. And even when you go to a big city, sometimes you can be this, small fish in a big pond and not have everything that you need or the right connections. And there's just a lot of different challenges, I think, that come with that. And I'm really glad that TVO is available to help. And I really like what you just said, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge, and I'm glad that Logan, is willing to be just a point of contact. If a vet's coming back down to that area, saying, "Hey, you know what? I went through the same thing. This is what I did." When you got out, Logan, the job that you're in now, tell us about that. And was that your first job that you got as soon as you got out?
No, it wasn't my first job. I was adjunct teaching there for a little bit when I first moved back, because I was planning on continuing my education, which then I got, honestly, just kind of fell into it. A buddy of mine who's friends with the COO of this company kind of matched us up, and we started talking. I have a my dad was a real estate appraiser, focused mostly on dairies and other ag properties to appraise. And so I was very, very versed in the dairy industry just from growing up in that world. And that's our primary product is for, we work, mostly in dairy, doing large facilities for them. And we got to talking and realized we had a lot in common. And he offered me a job, and I was honestly at a point where, education wise, I was a little frustrated because I wasn't being as successful as I thought I would be in especially in those undergrad classes. So I just jumped on it, and now 4.5 years later, 5 this summer, I'm still working here. It's a great company, great family to work for. And it's been a blessing, honestly, that I just never saw coming.
How long have you been out now?
6 years. I ETS'd in 2015 and started at Prime in the summer of 2016.
All right. So I know what it is. And please tell everybody out there, 1, the name of the company, and 2, exactly what you do. Because to me, if you're in Texas and you're retiring and you're getting ready to settle down, maybe develop some land, build your place, whatever, this is a guy you're going to want on your team. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, so I work for Prime Metal Buildings. We're out of Dublin, Texas. I'm the pre-engineered metal building sales manager here. And the hot commodity right now for everybody is barn dominiums. You want a metal building, a metal house on your property? We do a ton of it. You can check us out on Facebook. We put a lot of them up there. You just search Prime Metal Buildings. We don't have an Instagram yet, but I think we're working on that. Our website is just www.primebldg.com, like short for building. Yeah, if you need to reach out, all my contact info is on the website. I can definitely get you pointed in the right direction. I'm actually walking my parents through the process right now.
And I say you're going to want him on your team because this ain't just no metal building by no means. Once you see what people and these folks are doing with the housing shortage that is going on right now in the DFW Metroplex alone, you are going to be amazed going, why did I never think of that? My network is a lot of pilots that are getting out and retiring. They're taking these things, and we've known it for years. They're called hangar homes, if you will. But it's literally building a hangar right there on the side of the runway, pull the plane right up into, and then when you walk into the hangar and you're like, hold on, this is more than just a hangar. And they have them immaculate. Some of them are 2- and 3-story living spaces inside the hangars. And then once you sit down and you start doing the cost per square foot to do that versus what a home would actually cost at that, it's mind blowing and baffling. And I've even just listening to some of the people that have done it, Logan, I'm literally hearing that by doing the barn dominium style homes, some people are paying as low as 20 to 28% range of what it would normally cost them to do a conventional home of that same size.
Yeah, there's some stuff that keeps that price down. Obviously, if you've got a super complicated design for your residence, it's not going to pencil the same way wood would. But if you have a a pretty straightforward design, then as far as just your overall floor plan layout goes, your meat of your building, then it can save you a lot of money, especially as high as wood prices are right now.
And not only that, but the construction price too. And that's what we were looking at for the organization. We were looking at how long it was going to take. Like we're right now, if we were to build conventionally at some land that we had donated to the organization, if we were to build on that land conventional style um, housing, if you will, we were on a 8-month wait list just to get a crew out there, not including the time it was going to take, which was almost 11 to a 15-month build for that crew once they started. So this is turning into a 2-year project just to build a place for vets to get out and go to. And I'm going, that to me, that's ridiculous. But then I hear everything Logan's got going on, and if you were to take, say, a 4,000 square foot building, Logan, how long would it take a crew to put that thing together from the foundation up?
Um, as far as turnkey finish out, I can't speak much for that because that's a little um, outside of my wheelhouse. As far as your shell, you could get that thing dried in probably 2 weeks. We're adding on to our office facility here. They stood frames, put studs in, and got a roof all on in 2 weeks. So
That's just incredible.
That's yeah, boom, done. Amazing. Well, I tell you what, man. I thank you for coming on, sharing your quick story. One thing I want you to tell them about that we lost during the disconnection process there with you. I want you to just go back, tell them what you did involving the dogs and how that came into play. Because
yeah,
that's one of our to me that's one of our most overlooked parts of the military. And that actually carries on quite a bit of life skills in post-military career.
yeah. Prior to our deployment to Afghanistan, we're getting ready. We're getting spun up. They selected 2, 3 guys from every company inside the battalion to send to a dog training school. It's a TED program, that's tactical explosive detector dogs. Basically, you're not a dog handler, but they send you off to get trained to be a dog handler for the next 2 or 3 months. And then once you complete the program, you link back up with your unit downrange in Afghanistan. And your primary objective is to, find IEDs, or hopefully not find them hopefully they're not there, but if they are, find them, and call in the right people to get them taken care of. So we were dismounted. We were light infantry in Afghanistan, so every combat mission we were on, we were walking, and me and the point guy ran hand in hand, and my dog, he worked up to 100 yards off leash, out in front of us, and basically just searching right in front of us everywhere we were walking, to make sure that we were safe. So luckily, the whole time I was there, we had no injuries or deaths, obviously, that were attributed to IEDs in our platoon.
I tell you what, man, that is one very respectable profession that I have. And the reason being is because if you've ever worked with a dog, tried to train them, it's really the human that ends up needing training, not really the dog. Because dogs have that natural instinct in them to serve and protect, which to me is amazing. It's just a matter of understanding how to get that out of them. And humans obviously is the same way, right? How, as a leader, how do you get your team to perform the best that it can and be the most efficient, right? And so those folks that can turn around and do that with the dogs, man, it's amazing. And I do think that that's one of the most untapped professions slash skill sets in our military are the handlers, because those people have lots of patience, they have lots of understanding, they have lots of adaptability. And at the end of the day, they have to perform that mission with a team member. And when we get, I see it all the time, just in our organization. A lot of the people get out, don't know how to convert those skills over to actual professional skills, or basically how do you sell that? Well, I was a dog handler, blah blah blah. No, man, you were so much more than that. Because if you had the patience to sit down and go through a real world event on a daily basis like that, in that type of environment, and that dog was your teammate, I really think a good 90 to 95% of those people that do that would end up being some of your best mid-level to executive managers that corporate America can have. Just my take on it. But Logan, thanks for the time today. I definitely appreciate one, what you're doing, two, how you're doing it. And even though you came in and had a short career, with the Army, I tell you what, man, whether it was one day or it was 100 days or 1,000 or 10,000 days, man, it's very meaningful. And I'm glad to see that you're one of the people in Texas, especially with our organization, who can turn around and take what you did, bring it back to your community, but also continue to help vets just like you're doing here. You're about to help vets on a global basis with this, what you're doing on this show. So little Stephenville, Texas is about to go extend a lot further out than just Stephenville with what you did here today on this show. But I'll thank you. And Rebecca, please close us out.
Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story, Logan. I know that I have found so much value in what you shared, and I know that those who are listening in and are tuning in and watching the show are going to gain some new insight. And I just thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. It was actually an honor to be invited on. I love what the organization does. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a part of it. And I'm going to try to keep helping as best I can. That's what I want to do. It's nice being involved with good people and a good organization.
Fantastic. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in, both on the TV side and the audio side of the house. We want to ask that you share this with all the veterans that you know, and even those who are on active duty that are getting ready to transition out, or just they're still in. We'd like to get as much information and resources in the hands of all of you who have served or are serving. And so do share this on social media and on every platform that you can. So thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you as well.
Well, we're veterans, so we spend a lot of time in mental health.
Thanks for telling me.
That's part of it, right? And we also teach a class called, now it's called Rec for Heroes. It's a guitar class at the VA, Fort Worth VA. And I've been teaching now for 5 years, and Ron has been helping me teach the disabled vets up there. And so I got to thinking, you know what? The song is essentially 3 minutes with your therapist, right? I mean, it can make you up, make you down, whatever. So I wrote a little bit about it, and Ron is like, yeah, let's finish that sucker.
Yeah, we sit down and
it's called 3 minutes session.
And we finished it in a thunderstorm.
Yeah, that's right. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite Haggard song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction. 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Now therapists, they try their best an hour to work on you. Ask you questions, search for answers, take away your blues. I ain't saying that they don't help, one thing I know is true. One quick way to brighten my day is listen to my favorite tune. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite wailing song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Loretta, Dolly, Emily, seem to tell you right. If you need a cure for your working blues, just listen to some 95. 2 more bottles of wine and I'm feeling fine. Takes the fight right out of me. I can find a cure for all my ills, and I don't need to go to this city. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite Patsy song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite bowling song. A warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song.